Being a journalist means in-depth analysis that unravels hidden truths, that question the status quo and fact-checks government.
These criminal elements hiding under the cloak of surveillance contractors are the APC elements.
Do you have facts to prove that? Being a journalist means waking up every day with a burning desire for peace, equity, and justice for all citizens.
We're being told that the choice you have is to take the lesser of two evils.
It means patriotism via the prism of objectivity and accountability. It means giving my platform to the masses to discuss issues that matter to them.
Some of them, if they bring budget and the budget they look, some of them sleep. They're going to ask how much we are on. I have it.
Thereby shaping government policies and laws. My name is Osasu, and I am the People's Journalist. North to South Africa, East to West Africa, TOS TV Network is your digital-first Pan-African news network, bringing you news from across the continent. Visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com and follow us on social media at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Agriculture is broadly divided into 4 sectors in Nigeria: crop production, fishing, livestock, and forestry. Crop production remains the largest segment, and it accounts for about 87.6% of the sector's total output. This is followed by livestock, fishing, and forestry at 8.1%, 3.2%, and 1.1% respectively. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, the world risks a looming food crisis unless urgent measures are taken to protect the most vulnerable, keep global food supply chains alive, and mitigate the pandemic's impact across the food chain to improve agricultural production and food supply ahead of difficult times. Agriculture remains the largest sector in Nigeria, contributing an average of 24% to the nation's GDP over the past 7 years. Understanding how agricultural and rural development can create jobs and livelihoods for small farmers while producing food and raw materials for the urban economy is essential to the growth and profitability of the sector.
Amfani mahimmanci noma wanda muna yi a nan, muna kan yi ababe da yawa. Muna yi shinkafa, muna yi gyada, muna kuma yi masara, ababe da yawa kuma yana yi mana amfani.
My name is Jumai Mohammed. I work in Nigeria's Farmers Group. I'm a sectional manager on this farm. Working on this farm has helped me achieve a lot. As I'm talking to you now, I have 2 cows, 5 goats, 5 bags of egusi, and a 2-bedroom flat. I got them all by working on this farm. Also, we do not only produce crops, we also do animal production. We rear cows, fish, and poultry.
Kaman a yanzu nan kana gwamnati da su iya bunkasa saboda harka yanzu nan ya koma na gona ne. Komai yanzu nan harka na gona shine yana cin gaba yanzu nan. To abun da ya sa komin harkan ko kamfanin mu nan ma harkan na gona ne, shinkafa su menene ba abun da ba mu safara shi nan.
My name is Tanko Jibrin. As you can see, we are into different agricultural production because farming is the backbone of everything, and government can boost agriculture by investing more in it. That is if the government truly want the country to develop. And this is my 4th year working on this farm. I am one of the first 10 workers that are employed. By working here, I was able to buy 5 new motorcycles that I am currently getting profit from. I also got married, all by working on this farm. If government can invest more, definitely there will be more employments for youth to get a livelihood.
Nigerian farmers, we started in 2017 precisely, where we started majorly crop production, and this is 2021. From 2017 to 2021, we have evolved from just planting only crop into animal production. We have a poultry, we have a cattle ranch, which is Iruga. Then we also have a goat pen. Then we have evolved into crop processing, because we first realized that if you don't process whatever you are producing, just like the crude oil, what we are the problems we have, the challenges we are facing in the crude oil sector, because we are not processing what we are producing, it becomes very difficult for you to get the maximum economy from it. Now, look at it this way. If, for example, the cost of maize in 2018, it went as high as about 120 naira per bag. That's the raw material of maize. Then at a point, it crashed down to about 5,000 naira per bag. The people that were producing a particular, let's say, for example, golden malt, cornflakes, which one of the constituents of making cornflakes was about maize, the price still remained almost the same, even it was even going higher. The bag of feed, which they use in feeding both chicken and fish and all that, still went higher. Why? Because there are people who were adding values to it. These people realize that if you can add value to whatever you are producing, you can dictate the market price and what you want to do with it.
The rice journey started in 2012, and I mean, I was consulting for a small farm, a farm who wanted to raise funds for expansion. And we raised the fund from the UK, but for one or two reasons, CBN didn't give the letter covering ourselves for the guarantee for the fund, so we couldn't access the funds. And part of my compensation for raising the funds, which we couldn't access, was to 50-50 the farm, which was my first step into agriculture. So from there, I just ran with everything.
We needed Nigerians to begin to see beyond the political insanity that we had. And Nigeria begin to see value based on create value for Nigerians so that they can feel ownership of the country, reject what dirty money is willing to provide, have a long-term earning, and then make informed decision about real growth. So we started looking for land because we also saw that historically, no country developed without real industrialization via agriculture. If you want to develop your telecom sector, develop rural Nigeria with regards to agriculture, then you go realize, say, immediately you can connect 50 million Nigerians to the telecom structure. Why? Because majority of your population are domiciled in rural Nigeria. And the rural structure is primarily premised on real agro development.
Over the years, Nigerians have clamored for a diversified economy that is not over-reliant on crude oil. Recently, there have been several talks about agriculture being on the front burner of our exports. But the reality is that there is a gulf in difference between the revenue agriculture can bring in and what oil currently generates. Despite the steady growth in the value of Nigeria's agricultural exports over 3 years, from 2016 to 2018, the country's agricultural exports to total exports remains below 2%.
The only way crude oil is viable is when Nigeria is not only extracting or exploring crude, but we are processing it. But even at that, how many jobs did it create? Once you dump rig, you pump the crude, you refine them, a whole refinery, only 50 people fit control a whole refinery, don't be so. But for 100 hectares of farmland, you practically need much more than 50 to manage it.
Agriculture definitely has the potential to generate more revenue for the country. It can also absorb a lot of the unemployed. However, we need to create a conducive environment for agriculture itself to be able to thrive. And I think it's in those areas which I think we've failed, which is why we're not able to achieve our full potential.
If we're able to commit rural Nigeria towards the agro-revolution, if we're able to go back and look at what China did, today the world is made in China. We don't stabilize when Dubai still be desert. All of us, they head to Dubai now for holidays. We don't set when likes of Ghana still they sow Gary. Now with the sow Gary, Ghana they show better things. And so you look at it, all of it in context of national development, in context of real growth, in concept, when you look at the view with regards to answering the national question of sustainable economic development, it was clear that the only pathway for this country was agriculture. And we were so positioned to be legendary.
One of the ways you can sustain your economy in our country as Nigeria, about 200 plus million population, is through agriculture, because agriculture adds direct value into your community where you are. I'm a mining engineer, for example. If you want to go into mining, if you want to do oil exploration and all that, it's the cost alone you use in oil exploration. If you invest it into agriculture, it's far produce enough for you to start harvesting and producing than that you're going to get.
84 million arable hectares of farmland, 200 million people. I'm not going to even look from the mouth to feed, to chop. Think as a workforce. 200 million people. An average, a majority of them youth, with an average age of 19, and with a hungry. And so we talked about the fact that how do we begin to regenerate, to create, to build something that has the capacity of actually reawakening our mindset. Make we begin to think. And so we thought of farming.
In a recent report, the National Bureau of Statistics claimed that Nigeria earned close to 289.3 billion naira from the exportation of the top 10 agricultural produce between April 2019 and March 2020. The report asserted that sesame seeds and cocoa accounted for over 60% of the country's exports, as they are the most sought after internationally. Comparatively, the top 10 agricultural produce made 289.3 billion naira across 3 quarters. Despite the enormous potential of the sector to yield optimum productivity for the nation's economy, Nigeria's agricultural sector has been faced with numerous challenges stunting its progress.
The reason why they will say the average farmer is a poor person, because what determines the money a farmer makes is the returns, what we call the yield he gets from the crop he plants. Now, because we don't have, one of the problems we have in our country, I would like to talk about the government policies in terms of agriculture. Now, the policies in terms that if there's a policy that says if a farmer, somebody that is into real agriculture, wants to approach a bank to get money, and there's a law that says it should not pay less than 1 digit for such a loan, you will see that it will go a long way to, because farming needs money. It needs real money, because you look at the things that you're doing. A farmer will produce his own light, will produce his own road, produce his own water, and these are capital projects which are cost intensive.
In terms of quality of inputs, I think we still have poor quality of inputs. The quality of our seeds are still pretty bad. I mean, we still have a lot of mixed variety. The cost of hiring tractors and combine harvesters are still too high. I mean, last season we were paying 50,000 naira per hectare just for harvesting. It's 15,000 naira to plow. It's 15,000 naira to harrow. How many of the rural farmers can actually can afford this? And this is per hectare, right? So you have these challenges. So how do we bring those costs? How do we bring that cost down? That's one issue. And then the next issue, and probably the most severe or serious issue, is the level of insecurity we have now, because literally everywhere in all the states in the country, there's some sort of insecurity or the other. It's either communal conflict, kidnapping, banditry. It's something, it's one thing or the other. And what people fail to realize is that it's in those same communities we depend on to be able to produce the food which Nigeria consumes, and we also hope to export.
And you needed government to support you, 0. until recently. And then you have to go and then talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to those that believe in you, bros, how much you get. What if you give us? What if you provide? So we got our people involved, got them thinking, got them to believe, but it's been tough.
Investment, so basically what I'm saying to you is that investment will not happen, right, if there's insecurity. I'm trying to expand on my farm now. I can't. In fact, there's no bank that will give you money if you say you want to go and farm in Kaduna South. You tell the bank you want 2 billion or 5 billion, and you tell them I go to farm in a place, maybe like Kaura, for example, in Kaduna South. Any bank that gives you money is a bank that wants to do charity, because there's no guarantee that you're able to farm there dry season, rainy season, year on year, for them to be able to recoup their funds.
Who says there cannot be waiver for you to import agricultural equipment into Nigeria? As of today, you still pay the right duty which other people pay, because there's no policy that is encouraging people to do this. If there's a policy, you see that more people want to go into that shop, into that facility to invest more in it. Then two, what is our research institute doing? Now we have a huge challenge in that aspect. There is what we call research institute. Research institutes are supposed to be institutes that will be able to produce hybrid seedlings that a farmer can use, cultivate, and get better yields. As of today, it will still baffle you that in Nigeria, a farmer is still struggling to do about 4 tons per hectare in maize, which is laughable. Why country like Zimbabwe, for example, they are already struggling to do more than 8 tons per hectare? It's simple. If you cannot increase your yield capacity, there's no way you can make money.
No matter how noble your idea is, it needs money to power it.
In situations where there's insecurity this high, right, what happens is that a lot of the farmers, a lot of the small farmers, the rural farmers, can no longer go deep into the bush to farm on their bigger plots or their bigger land, say their 10-hectare farms or their 20-hectare farms.
The challenges spread. As I'm going to look at it from various angles. I'm going to look at it first from infrastructure. How a private man, when he won't make money, will build a power line, no power line. 33 kVA line cutting for close to 5 kilometers was built by this farm at the cost of over 70 million naira. The dam that is holding about 500 million cubic liters of water was built by the farm. You have 300 staff to look after. Okay? You're building your own processing line. Now, they said the farm is valued at about 3-4 billion. More than half of that was built by investors' fund, profitability, and the rest. And so, infrastructure is a problem, it's a major challenge for those who dare to dream, for those who dare to believe.
To ensure a sustainable economy post-pandemic, Nigeria needs to look into farming on a larger scale by adopting various interventions that will boost the sector, provide employment, and foster infrastructural development.
What the government should be doing now, since these farmers have come closer to their homes where there's less land for them to work on, is work on how they can teach them how to be more efficient on those smaller plots. So if you are going to the bush and you are planting on 10 hectares and you're getting an average yield of 1 ton per hectare, for example, yield of 1 ton per hectare, how then do you become more efficient on a smaller plot near your home, whereby you're now producing 4 tons per hectare, which is the average yield for rice, which means on 2 hectares you're getting 8 tons of rice, which is what you are getting on about 8-10 hectares in the bush. So that's what the government focus should be now. That okay, on the smaller land these people are coming onto, how do we ensure that they maximize, their yields on those lands?
Of course, there are some things that the government is trying, policies that the government has set aside to benefit farmers, but they are supposed to be extension workers that will channel this thing to the right farmer. But where are they having their offices? What stops each of these people to have an office in the entire 36 states of the Confederation and even the local government, so that they'll be able to spread there? It should not be disconnect between the local farmer who is in the rural environment, then you that is making the government that is making policies. This is why it's so difficult for farmers to assess most of the things that the government is talking about.
And so what you see in most of the West and most of the world, where agriculture was the foundation of international growth, is that what they are doing is to support their farmers with machineries, support their farmers with chemicals, support their farmers with research and development. Until the 80s, the American government was responsible for more than 70% of all funds that was used for research and development.
Agriculture in Nigeria has suffered from decades of underinvestment, corruption, policy neglect, and lost opportunity. Today, despite its vast agricultural potential, the country is a net food importer of food, with the vast majority of people engaged in agriculture operating at subsistence level. The major obstacles to the growth and productivity of Nigeria's evolving agricultural landscape needs urgent attention in order to secure the future of the agricultural sector.
If we focus on redevelopment, infrastructure, you see rail practically beginning to connect more of the country, because that's one of the things you need. You see, access to market is key. So if you connect this country with rail, you have solved one of the problems of agriculture. That is what access to market. So the rural man can always pick his goods, drive about 10 kilometers and get to rail, and is able to move the rail. It's good from Lafia to what? To Lagos. If they continue along this path, what I see is a situation where this country begins to generate between $20 to $30 billion every year from agriculture, and will increase up to $100 billion. If we continue along this path, we see governors taking more interest. Because the Nasarawa State Governor, A. Sule, I've been here 4 times over the last 2 or 3 years. He has actually promised to help the farm build a vocational training center where people from all of the local government will be coming here to learn, to train. Then at the end of the training, he will provide resources to set them up in their various local communities, because they will be able to have that orientation of how you grow a process. You see, that is good. So I am looking at a situation whereby in the next decade, agri could produce an average of 1 million jobs every year.
My hope is that the youth that we've been able to encourage to get into this sector over the last, say, 5-6 years, right, stay in this sector. There's no point looking to the future. The ones that we've encouraged to come in, how do we keep them in this sector? How do we continue to encourage them to ensure that they grow? Because by the time you lose first season, second season, you're probably out of funds, you're out of the sector, and you probably won't come back because of the bad experience. So how do we soften the ground for them to be able to continue? Once you do that, investment flow will come in from either from foreign investment or even local investment.
Adewumi Adesina, the president of Agri Development Bank in Africa Development Bank, he said something. He said before 2025 that the agriculture sector in Africa will be a $1 trillion industry, and it's very true. Take example, last year, before we were so used to eating foreign rice. They call it foreign rice. What they call foreign rice, we don't really understand, because it's important to Nigeria. But when there was because of the COVID-19 of last year, there was ban on the importation of rice into Nigeria. What happened to us? Virtually everybody fall back to local rice. Now, if you even look at the local rice, the one they call local rice, which is Nigerian owned rice, the competition you have within the foreign rice, when they started consuming it, that is the only way they grew the Nigerian rice industry. Now, in the next future, if you have people that are tenable, they are dogged that wants to go into agri, not the ones that just want to go into it because of the money involved. First of all, you must have a passion and what you want to achieve, the dream of it. If you have people that have the same art, very passionate about agriculture because they want to develop this sector of Nigeria, it means that if each of the local governments in our country is able to produce, we have at least a rice mill. I take that as an example because that's one of the things that we are producing in Nigerian farmers very heavily now. If, for example, there is every sector, every local government in the federation has a rice mill, it means that before 2025, Nigeria as a country will be able to export not just yam, we'll be able to export rice to that country.
We should look at the Keynesian model for agri-development. In the 30s, when the Americans were undergoing their Great Depression, what did they do? Keynesian suggested, look, buy black paint this place today black, tomorrow paint and red, next tomorrow paint and white. For as long as the man that you are paying to paint is going home and spending money buying food, what are you doing? You are creating real economic value and growth. So government must begin to borrow and invest in tractors, borrow and invest in educating your local people, borrow and invest in building dams. I shouldn't be building dams. Borrow and invest in building what? Rural access road. Don't tell me that you're spending $1 billion to do Kota Road to one community. No. Do as they do it in Texas.
North to South Africa. East to West Africa. TOS TV Network is your digital-first Pan-African news network, bringing you news from across the continent. Visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com and follow us on social media at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.